Hi, we are live here on Facebook, and I'm going to go live on Instagram in just a second. And today is going to be short. We are going to be doing a little bit of a recap of what the last tour was about, and also just talking about what's coming next for you. So, I mean, this is kind of short notice. I didn't announce that I was going to go live today, but I'm kind of setting a trend: Sunday at 3 o'clock, Sunday at 3 o'clock, Sunday at 3 o'clock. So I'm about to hit live on Instagram. And so we're live on Instagram and on YouTube. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for logging in with me here today. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on Sundays at 3. And I think that's my trend now, guys. I think I'm still going to explore a little bit more to make sure that that works with you guys and with my schedule. But for right now, Sunday at 3. Hi on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube. So you're going to see my eyes kind of all over the place. And today I'm going to do a quick recap on the tour that we just had over the last 4 Sundays, the Ask a Canadian Immigrant live virtual tour. A quick recap and the summary of, the big question we asked at the end: should you move to Canada? I'm also going to talk a little bit about my book and RSVP winner, whose name also happens to be Kristina with a Y. We had a great chat, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I am going to give you show you how to become a member of my website for free. It's really just to help you to keep in the know about what's coming next, what my schedule is, for you to RSVP so that you can get updates and anything that you need to do or know in order to stay in the know. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what is coming next over the next coming weeks, and also get your guys' feedback on what you need. What do you need? What do you need from you? You come to my website, you come to my lives, you come to Instagram, you come to wherever I am, and you're here for a reason. And I want to make sure that whatever your needs are being met. So I'm going to be able to ask you the questions about what you need and how I can fulfill those needs. So I'm going to jump right into it. Thank you for joining on Instagram and on YouTube. Hi. So as you know, if you don't know, there's probably going to be a link at the end of this video if you rewatch it. We just had a live virtual tour for the last 4 Sundays, and 5 Sundays, 5. And each week I stopped at a different place in Canada with a different immigrant to hear their experience and to find out what it's like to be wherever they are or whatever position they're in as Canadian immigrants. So, our first week we stopped over in Alberta, and Demar is a huge supporter of come to Alberta. He loves Alberta, and that's really good. And he, recommends that people come there if you are interested in coming to Canada. Of course, do your research as to where you should be or what you should want or what your needs are, but he loves Alberta and he thinks it's the best province. I tend to differ. Hi, everybody on YouTube there. I see a little bit of comments coming through. So he spoke about his experience in coming to Canada. It was his first experience going out of Jamaica, and he has had a pleasant experience so far. There was definitely hurdles and bumps in the road with his wife finding a job and different things, but overall, they're celebrating 3 years in Canada, and they're happy to make the decision, and they're chugging along to get to Canadian citizenship. Then we went over to Paul. You guys may know Paul. If you don't know Paul and I have had several interviews and episodes before now where we spoke a little bit about Canadian immigration. Both of us left Canada at some point. He still isn't back in Canada. So he spoke about that a bit, and he is a licensed immigration consultant. His business is Can Move Immigration. I find him very, very informed. He's very educated about Canadian immigration, and I trust him as a Canadian immigration consultant. So if I were to say I need an immigration consultant, he's my go-to in WhatsApp all day, every day, any day. And you can get 10% off of his services if you just get the coupon code on my website. So Paul did talk a little bit about Canadian immigration, and we know that there are long wait times, guys. Like, people have messaged me and asking questions, wondering, should I defer to another semester? Am I going to get the visa in time? I don't know. But Paul did say that, they are working on improving timelines, right? And we have to believe that, because like immigration is beneficial for Canada too, right? So they're not just leaving people hanging, but COVID did put a damper on everything all over the world, right? So definitely check out that episode with me and Paul. And if you need an immigration consultant, I recommend Paul. Then we went down to Colombia and spoke to Carolina, who is an immigrant in Canada with her family, and just her expectations versus reality in Canada. It wasn't necessarily the easiest transition for her husband, who is his native language is not English, so she spoke a little bit about that, and just shared that the fact that sometimes you see the goal and you think it is a lot more than it actually turns out to be. Not in a bad way, it's just her expectations may have been a little bit different or heightened versus when you come here, because it's hard work. It's hard work, guys, and you can be tested and you'll be tried, but I think overall, we all say it's worth it. Then I spoke about the Atlantic Immigration Program and Atlantic Canada. And later on in this, like my live, I'm going to talk a little bit about Atlantic Canada, because I have a poll on Instagram regarding Atlantic Canada. So yeah. And then, our group chat at the end to sum up the tour, we asked the question, should you move to Canada? And I was on there, Paul and Demar, and that was my favorite episode of the whole live tour. It was fun and it was very informative, and it was 3 different experiences, 3 different people, 3 different walks of life. And so that was good. And I think the general consensus is that there are more upsides moving to Canada than there are downsides. There are more benefits than there are negative things. And it will and may and probably will be challenging, but we all said it was worth it. But also, like, do your research, be responsible with, coming here and your spending and all of that stuff, because it's a different life. It is a very different life. So that was our tour, and I hope that you guys benefited from it and enjoyed it. At the end of the tour, I chose an RSVP winner for somebody who RSVP'd to the live episodes, right? When you go on the website, you RSVP to say, I'm coming, and you keep updated by getting like a reminder, like, okay, we're going live in 30 minutes. And that her name is Kristina, and she and I chatted for 30 minutes on Friday, and we had a very good chat. She's down in Trinidad, and she's interested in going to Canada through the school route. And part of the RSVP winning package was a 30-minute chat with me and also a free copy of my book. So she's going to get this in the mail at some point, and I'm also going to give her an ebook so that she doesn't have to wait for the mail to come in Trinidad. But that's her route. She's trying to go from student to citizen, and she's trying to get the information as to how to do so. So she attended several of the lives, and she won. So what's next? I am planning to do a live workshop. I think I want to do 2 to 4 live workshops. It may, and then depending on how the first 2 go, it may or may not be live, depending on your needs. Live workshop to job hunt in Atlantic Canada. Now, I did the episode on week 4 of the tour about the Atlantic Immigration Program, and I spoke a little bit about how to find jobs. And for me, the biggest question that comes through on any of my platforms, people asking me questions, how do we find jobs in Atlantic Canada, or it's hard, or different things, right? And so I'm going to do a live workshop, and I'm thinking it's going to need to be more than 1 episode, because there are 4 provinces in Atlantic Canada, and each province might take an episode or 2. Oh no, not each province. Each province will take an episode, not 2. But, we're going to chug through each of the provinces week by week and try to find jobs. And what I will do is to make this more interactive, because YouTube and Instagram are interactive where you guys can comment and stuff, but we can't talk directly and see your resume and all that stuff. So I'm going to make that one like something that you guys can come in on the Zoom chat with me. You don't have to show your cameras or anything. You'll just see me and you guys will be there and we'll talk and try to give me real examples about, like, what is your profession, right? And then we'll find jobs based on people who are actually on the Zoom. So look out for that. Looking out for that means becoming a member of my website, just so that you can be on the email list to know when those dates are. I do think I'm going to start the first one next week, Sunday at 3 o'clock in Toronto. Next week, Sunday will still be on daylight savings time. So it's still whatever country you're in, be mindful of the time difference, right? Then after the live virtual workshop, we'll find jobs in Atlantic Canada. Then I think what is very critical and important, because I've seen several resumes. People have sent me their resumes. Can you take a look? Yada, yada, yada. I want to do a live resume workshop with somebody who I think is a super awesome resume writer, right? I haven't asked her yet, so I'm not gonna like advertise that, oh, she's gonna be the one, because I haven't even asked her. But in any case, I'm going to do this anyway and get somebody on here who can assist you with resume tips, resume writing tips. I will open it up so that you guys can probably send resumes ahead of time so we can give you live feedback. We won't call any names or anything. You'll know it's your resume. But I think that if we're going to find a job, you need to be able to land the job by having a resume that is what Canadian employers are used to seeing, right? So live workshops for resume writing. Then I think the next biggest thing for people who are interested in coming to school in Canada is the letter of intent, or the statement of intent. And that is an additional document that you write out what your intentions are for coming to Canada as part of your application for a study work permit or a study permit or a visa. And that can kind of make or break your application. It's supplemental information that is not as obvious as immigration officer just looking through paperwork, right? Okay, you went to school. Okay, you have this much money, but really, why are you coming here? What are you going to do here? And are you going to leave? And so I kind of want to do a live episode 2 of crafting your perfect statement of intent or letter of intent, right? And then my vote I have a poll on Instagram. Hi on Instagram. I have a vote open right now because I've been toying with this idea and I really think I'm going to do it. I'm thinking about going to Atlantic Canada and checking it out for you guys, going for a couple of weeks and seeing what it's like, checking out the different provinces, maybe, I don't know, visit a school or two, to see what it's like. Yeah. So the vote is, should I or should I not? Give me a thumbs up if that is something that you think that would benefit you, or if you're interested in me going to Atlantic Canada and vlogging or whatever it is to give you back the live information. Like, I have no interest in going and living in Atlantic Canada, right? I'm going for you guys, right? Because like I promote the Atlantic Immigration Program because I think it is an easier program than Express Entry to get through to if you don't have enough money or if you don't want to go to school in Canada. So I want to go over there and, scope out the land and see, what is it really like over there in Atlantic Canada? Damar, in our episode, the last live episode, said, he thinks it's kind of rural. You might not have the kind of perks that you have in a Toronto, maybe not. We'll see. But give me a thumbs up if me going to Atlantic Canada would benefit you. I see a thumbs up on Instagram. I see one on YouTube. Okay. And on the vote so far on my Instagram poll are 100% yes. So I also want to go kind of in the winter, which kind of sucks, because not sucks, but like I would like to be somewhere warmer in the winter, but I do want to see what winter is like over there, right? So let me know if you think I should go to Atlantic Canada. So that was like the recap, and that was an update on what's next, what I'm planning next for you guys. And I want to kind of open up the floor right now to say, what is it that you need? Why do you come here? Why are you here today on Instagram and on YouTube watching this live, right? You are interested in Canadian immigration for some reason of the sort. What is it that you need help with? What do you need to know? What kind of episodes do you need to see? What kind of information do you need? Yeah, so write in the comment section on YouTube or on Instagram, what do you need? What are your needs as a person interested in Canadian immigration? Sometimes you see me go off the screen because the phone is kind of blocking the YouTube chat. I never really thought that through. But somebody did ask a question on YouTube. Can one work part-time in another company on a startup visa closed work permit? I think that when you are on a closed work permit, you are secured and locked into that employer. And I don't believe that you can work anywhere else. I can look it up real quick to see if it's, hi, persons on Instagram. Closed work permits are tied to specific employers. So this is something I'm seeing coming up on Google. I just Googled it. And that's, you guys, all of the information is just out there, you know what I mean? Closed work permits are tied to specific employers. This means that a foreign national issued a closed work permit must remain working with the same employer at the same location unless they change their work permits. I believe only an open work permit will allow you to move around like that. If I find out anything different, I'll tell you, but I believe that closed work permits are very tied to your employer. Jamaican in Toronto, welcome, hi. Kristina, where in Ontario are you? I'm in the Greater Toronto area, just 45 minutes outside of the downtown Toronto city. So then they call this area, even though it's not Toronto, it's the Greater Toronto area because it's the surrounding cities of Toronto. So that's that. Thumbs up for going to Atlantic Canada. Okay, and I think that's another thumbs up. Hi, Kristina from Kenya. Hello from Kenya. Kindly advise me the cheapest route to Canada. I can't say the cheapest routes to Canada. There's so many options to go to Canada. And it depends on your circumstance. It depends on where you go. That's a very broad question. Generally, I promote the Atlantic Immigration Program as the more cost-effective route if you compare it to express entry or going to school in Canada. Because the Atlantic Immigration Program the idea is you get set up with a job, you find a job, you get hired, you come here, you just start working, right? And that way, even whatever costs you have coming to Canada are offset by now you're working, right? So I can't say the cheapest route to Canada, I can't say, but the cheaper program of going to school, express entry, and Atlantic Immigration Program is the Atlantic Immigration Program. The rural and northern immigration program might be similar, but I don't know that I don't recall that one you need to have a job offer. I need to double check that. So I have not answered your question, Mr. Kenya, but I've answered something. Thanks. Yes, no problem. Management jobs in Canada. Hey, Jamaican in Scarborough. Hi, in Scarborough. Can you please help me on link to a secure job in Canada? And what's your advice for someone seeking to relocate to Canada on work term? So, hi. If you're just joining, I am planning on doing live workshops to find jobs in Atlantic Canada. Now, does that mean it will guarantee you a job or secure you a job? No. I think that, depending on what your background is, it may be easier or not easier to find jobs in Atlantic Canada. And I'm saying Atlantic Canada just because of the Atlantic Immigration Program. I think outside of the Atlantic Immigration Program or, areas that are calling people to come and work specifically, and we spoke a little bit about this, an LMIA. LMIA is a labor market impact assessment. Now, if you want to come to Canada and just get an employer to say, hey, hire me, that employer has to prove to the government that there's nobody else in Canada to do the job. So they have to get somebody outside of Canada, which is not easy, right? So the Atlantic Immigration Program, to me, is kind of just bridging that gap and getting rid of that complicated process of the employers already have proven that they cannot fill the gaps. So therefore, you need to hire internationally, right? So that's my link is come to the live workshops. Let's job hunt together, find your NOC code together, do these things together to help you to find a job. Nobody can guarantee you a secure link or anything like that, because you have to have a resume that is worth it and all of that for your employer to look at to begin with, right? So join my website. All right, let me show you guys how to become a member of my website, just for your benefits, right? To keep in the know about what's coming up on, coming episodes, right? So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hopefully it works, translates over on YouTube. Sorry, it's on YouTube, guys. So if you go to As Told by Canadian, oh, here we go. As Told by Canadian Immigrants.com, right? And if you go to the About tab at the top, this form, it was further down on the website below if you were already part of my website, but now I kind of move it to the top, and my website always undergoes changes. So at the top here, it's plain and simple. Subscribe form, become a member. You just put in your name, you put in your email address, and you're basically on the email list. So, and trust me, guys, I am not one for emailing you every day or even every other day, right? You'll get one update and a reminder like an hour before, because I don't know how anybody else feels about like being bombarded with emails from people every day. I don't like it. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. And it's easy for me to like just see that happening in my inbox and just like, no. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. There's a subscribe form, subscribe on my website and become a member so that I can just say, hey, we're going live on this day. We're going to talk about this. If you're interested, RSVP. And if you RSVP, then you'll get a 30-minute reminder just before the live, right? Because you get busy and you might forget. That's the thing. So you doing that is for you to keep in the know, right? So that's how I can help you with jobs. Come to the live, Mr. Empire Ants. What is the best province for new immigrants with a permanent residence regarding study side only? I'm sorry, Grace, can you ask that question again? I'm not sure I understand. For new immigrants with a permanent residence regarding study permit side only. So you mean like, where's the best province to go to if you want to study? So if you get back to me on YouTube, Grace. Meanwhile, I'm going to answer a question over here on Instagram. And I just see somebody subscribe to the website. Good for you. Thanks for subscribing. Question, how much proof of funds do I need to show for an open work permit? Mind you, there is a place already for you to stay. You just have to find a job when you reach. How much proof of funds do you need to show? That question is a broad question. Like an open work permit based on coming alongside somebody with a study permit, because you don't just get an open work permit. You get an open work permit based on a specific program. But proof of funds is specific to the program that you're going to be going in. Thank you for subscribing. I'm seeing some subscriptions coming in on the website, so that's great. So Grace, I don't know that there is a best province. I think that everything is kind of based on your needs, your affordability, like how much money do you have, and whether you care or not for a multicultural city or a more, rural vibe. I think that for sure, like Toronto, Ontario. So Toronto is a city. Ontario is the province. Toronto, Ontario happens to be the most popular destination for immigrants. It is the most multicultural of the cities, I believe. So you'll find more people where you're from. So if you're from Kenya, you'll likely find more Kenyans. If you're from another part of the world, you'll likely find those people here in Toronto. So if it really depends on what you care for, Grace. Toronto is also probably the most expensive place to live. Toronto and Vancouver, I think it's pretty close. So it really depends. I don't know that there's a best province. If you ask Demar, he's going to say Alberta. I've never been to Alberta. I can't say, I don't know. But other provinces outside of Toronto, Ontario, could be more cost effective. However, job availability based on what kind of what your background is could be different. Like there's more options obviously in Toronto, but there's obviously more competition because there's more people. So I don't have a best province for you, Grace, but I'm gonna go check out Atlantic Canada for you guys. In my mind, I've decided. I don't know when, I don't know how, guys. I have a 2-year-old. I have to orchestrate the whole thing because she's gonna come with me. And kind of just scope out the land for you guys. You know, I think best province is gonna be like relative to a person's needs, right? Hey, is it possible that you can do a video on project management jobs in Canada? For sure. I'm a project manager. I did project management. I work in construction, but I think project management is like a universal program, a universal accompaniment with any previous educational background. I stand by that. Best program, project management. That I can tell you, Grace. It depends. It depends. So yeah, for sure, I'll do a video on project management. I'll just actually copy that so that I remember. But I like that. Thank you so much for that question, Driss. All right. There is somebody who, yes, please really enjoy. Okay, so yes, and more thumbs up to going to Atlantic Canada. I do want to talk a little bit about, this is going to be about Atlantic Canada, but so somebody asked me a question over on Facebook, right? She said, you know, my dream is to come to Canada with my 2 boys. I'm on a very low budget and need some legit guidance to prepare for this journey. Now, that's not enough of information to work with necessarily. You have 2 kids and you're on a low budget. There's still like a lot that is needed to know for the purpose of immigration, like your educational background, your work experience, all of that stuff is relevant in considering your eligibility to move to Canada, your age. And so she did go on to tell me that, you know, she's an office assistant by college training with over 15 years of experience, right? So office administration, right? And I think NOC code, that would probably be a B. So now she's asking me, you know, like, what would I recommend necessarily? And just, I only know a little bit of information, right? 2 kids, low budget, and age and work experience. And immediately my mind says Atlantic Immigration Program. Now, are there other programs that she probably like can work towards? Yes, but when I see like low budget, for example, I'm not even going to consider the go to school route immediately, especially if you have 2 kids and the youngest kid is 3, right? So that kid's not even in school yet. That's a child that's still in kind of daycare. Probably school in the country that you're in, but when you come to Canada, it's daycare or preschool until the child is 4. So my child isn't in school or preschool or daycare. She's 2.5. So when I see that, the first thing I think of is, okay, if you're on a low budget, you have 2 children, come to Canada to work first. Even if you want to go back to school, come to Canada to work first. And the one program or the most easy program, I think, to want to do that is the Atlantic Immigration Program. Hi, Roshi. I don't even know how to say your name, but I know that you've been here for so long and I appreciate you for still being there. So I just wanted to big you up and I'm going to read your question next. But hi. So I recommended to her, the Atlantic Immigration Program and thinking about transitioning when that child is 4 so that child can be in school while she's working, because it's hard to like try and figure out daycare and all that stuff. Even though you still have to like drop these kids off at school, it's easier than daycare and more cost effective than daycare school, right? So that's what I recommended. Now, of course, she had follow-up questions. So why Atlantic Immigration? She asked, like, why that program specifically? And for those reasons. So if you're not here, you can watch it later, of course. But it's because you said you're on a low budget. You're in office administration, you have 2 children and your age, right? So the Atlantic Immigration Program will allow for you to come here and work immediately versus having to go to school and spend $18,000. Like when I was talking with Kristina, who is the RSVP winner on Friday, she said, I was looking at tuition because when I was going to school, tuition was 13,500 Canadian dollars. When I was looking at the program that she was interested in, it was going to come up to be 18,000, right? For 2 semesters, right? So it's a big jump in terms of that. So if you're on a low budget, then school probably feels like a bit much, right? And I get it, right? So that is why I recommended the Atlantic Immigration Program, friend on Facebook. Is it safe to raise kids? I think Canada generally is considered safe to raise kids. There's crime everywhere. I don't know that there's any country, like there's definitely countries that have like very, very low crime. I don't know that Canada is like in the top ranking or anything, but it's generally a safe place. And like usually, I think in Atlantic Canada, it's less populated. So there's less congestion. There's less likelihood for that. I can't say for sure, but I think so. But like the benefit too is I'm not promoting that you come to Canada, Atlantic Canada, and leave Atlantic Canada. I'm not promoting that at all. I am promoting freedom of choice and coming here the best means possible, contributing for as long as you can. And if it doesn't suit you and you need to move to another province, then move to another province. I'm promoting that freedom of choice, not jumping ship necessarily, right? Then, she asks, how is education there? I don't know. I'm going to go check it out for you. Do I need an IELTS exam for studies? So it sounds like she is interested in going to school, and school tuition outside of Toronto, I think is cheaper. So IELTS depends, exams for school entrance, it depends on the country that you're from or your first language. As a Jamaican, I did not have to do any English exam to get into school, but you have to do English exams for an immigration program anyway. But it has like a 2-year expiry. So don't try to be previous and do it early or anything like that. What's the weather like? I think it could be like, it could have some harsh winters there they're coastal, so they're seaside. But Canada is cold, guys. So if you want to know what the weather is like in Canada, generally it gets cold when it's cold, and when it's not cold, it's nice. And so just understand that there are seasons. I don't think that we're from the Caribbean, we're used to seasons. Like fall, like right now, is so beautiful. It's so colorful. All the leaves are like red, yellow, orange. It's so beautiful. But it's cold now. Like I can't go outside without a jacket now or a scarf now, right? I have a long sleeve shirt. I'm going to church when I'm done here. It's cold. Canada is cold. That's the weather. But in the summer, it's not cold. It's warm. It's nice. Prospects of finding a job while studying, definitely. Like you can find a job while studying, and just now they've changed the rules. Before you could only work 20 hours, you can now work for 40 hours. However, be cautious about that. Like I don't know anybody who's working like 40 hours and going to school at the same time, both full-time. It doesn't work, I don't think. I'm curious as to why they even open that up. You can work on the weekend, I suppose, but think about like just your time and needs to finish school first. And yeah, so she did ask a specific question about application process for a specific school in Newfoundland and Labrador. I think that each school has a different application process. Sometimes, like even in Ontario or Toronto, there's like a general website where you apply to all schools that are listed on the website. This university might be like a direct thing. There, you know, that's my mom calling me on WhatsApp. I can't answer. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram Live. There is something that I did write in my book, and I also blogged about it. There's a blog on my website you can read for free about college versus university. Now, the question she asked is, you know, a university in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I spoke about like, well, what are the differences about going to college versus a university, and what I kind of recommend based on a scenario basing. So I give 3 scenarios in the book. I'm like, well, if this, then go to university. If that, then go to college. If this, then that, then go to college first and then go to university after you become a permanent resident, right? So Kim, is that you? Hi. So that is kind of to wrap up her questions, you know, like why Atlantic Canada, that's why. And there's information in my book. If you want to take the study route, I suggest, you know, get my book. It's on Amazon, and you can get an ebook, you can get a physical copy. And it will really help you based on my experience, step by step, how to become a Canadian citizen from school, right? So I think you'll answer a lot of the questions. Do I know any Namibian immigrants? If you are on here and you are from Namibia and you are not the person who sent me this message, drop something in the message there so we can know you. I don't know any Namibians personally, but I'm sure there are Namibians here. How to find them is the thing. Okay, Rochi, how to transfer to another province on a postgraduate work permit. So a postgraduate work permit is an open work permit, right? Like you don't need to do anything specific to move to another province. You just go. Like I've had people or know people who did the same program as me, but was like one semester ahead of me, left, finished school, got a job in Alberta and went to Alberta immediately. There's nothing that you need to do specifically because a postgraduate work permit is an open work permit that you can work anywhere in Canada. Yeah. So you don't need to, yeah. You don't need to worry, Roshi. Yes, thank you for being here. You don't worry, even if you miss the lives, you can watch the replay on YouTube. Yes, tuition is mad crazy these days. And somebody says that they work at Holland College. If I'm still there when you want to visit. Oh, yeah. Hey, I like that. Okay, perfect. If you don't mind sending me an email, Alicia, hopefully I didn't try not to say people's names because I don't want to get it wrong. But thank you for that. And she's over in Atlantic Canada, so you can hook up. Yeah. Yeah, of course. So Alicia is in Atlantic Canada. And if you don't mind sending me an email, Alicia, or going to my website and just chatting in the little chat box at the bottom. I say, hi, I'm Alicia. I will talk just so that I can have some sort of connection with you when I do go to Atlantic Canada, because like I'm talking like I'm going, guys, because I really feel like I will. Try to inveigle my mom to come with me so that, you know, I have childcare, but also we can experience it together. So yeah, no problem. Yes, please email me. And you know, it's everything is as told by Canadian immigrants at gmail.com or .com. Everything is as told by Canadian immigrants. That's my brand, right? That's me. Yeah, so there was another question that came through on Instagram. Somebody who is in Japan studying and they want to transition to Canada. Do you apply for your study permit in Japan? And if you do, how do you show proof of ties to your home country since you're not even in your home country? And that was like a super good question. Like I messaged Temu and Paul like immediately. I'm like, yo, help me answer this question because I'm really curious, right? Because it's a really good question. How do you show proof of ties if you're not in your home country? And what Paul said generally, like, it's just, I feel like I should wait. I need to listen to Paul's voice note again to make sure that I respond appropriately and tell you guys the right information. But to me, it sounds like you should apply from Jamaica. That's not what Paul said, though. He didn't say that. He said it's possible. It's a little bit complicated. It gets a little bit tricky because you're not in your own country and showing ties. But you basically need to show a storyline of, okay, I left Jamaica to Japan to seek further studies, and then tie whatever it is you're going to Canada to do to what you are doing in Japan, or the ultimate breadcrumb trail of going from Jamaica to Japan, then to Canada, and then tie it back up to your home country, Jamaica, about like what are your intentions after. But also, like, if you have ties and if you have property or car or whatever in Jamaica, show whatever you have in Jamaica. But I'm going to message you back in your chat, person who messaged me, just to make sure that I give you the right information, and probably will have Paul come on here and say it as eloquently as he does one day. So if you guys have any more questions about, not necessarily questions, but also like, what are your needs as somebody interested in Canadian immigration? Why are you here on this live? Why do you come to the lives? What information are you looking for? And what kind of episodes would you like to see next, right? So I already told you I'm going to do a live job hunting in Atlantic Canada episodes. I'm going to do live resume workshops. I'm going to do crafting the perfect letter of intent or statement of intent. And I'm going to go to Atlantic Canada at some point and tell you guys all about it. So tell me, right, in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to sign off in 3 minutes at the 45-minute mark of this video. And tell me what kind of episodes you need to see, what kind of information you want, and why are you here? Why are you here watching this episode? Why are you here? Why are you interested in Canadian immigration? What do you need to know? So that's what the question I'm going to throw out to you right now. I'm going to do some shout outs. There's a lot of people that filtered in on Instagram. So hi on Instagram. Thank you guys for coming, even if you came for a short while. I did not necessarily announce this until today that I'm going to go live. So, but join my website, guys. Get my book. If you're interested in going the school route, the ebook is for like $3 and the physical book is like $12. And you can get it on Amazon. Just order it on Amazon. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to necessarily get it through me or anything like that. And that way it's easier to get it shipped to you and all of that stuff, right? And if it's the ebook, all the better because you get it immediately, right? So it does talk about like going from student to citizen and everything in between. That's the name of the book. And it'll help you to answer some of the questions that you have about Canadian immigration and how to go about the process. Join my website. I just did a little tutorial, so we can skip back to the tutorial in this video about how to become a member of my website so that you can keep in the know about this upcoming schedule, about all these things that I plan on talking about, like what dates. But I think you can put me down for being live next week, Sunday, which is October, it's still October, right? October 23rd at 3 p.m. right here. I'm going to do it on YouTube, right? So not on Instagram, I'm going to do it on YouTube so that I can share my screen and all that stuff. But next week, Sunday, October 23rd, 3 p.m., I'm going to go live and I'm going to do the first job hunting in Atlantic Canada workshop. If you are part of my website, you'll get an email just saying this is the time and place, and I will send out a Zoom link so that you guys can join me on Zoom. You can still watch it live on YouTube, but on Zoom is where I can interact with you and find out like, okay, what is your job title? to help you find the NOC code and all that stuff, so that I have a few like live bodies there to work with, because it's a live workshop, right? I'm not looking for a job in Atlantic Canada, so I'm not going to just randomly look for jobs. I'm going to look for jobs that you guys are looking for. So hi Audram, thanks for joining. So yeah, definitely check it out. Oh, we're at the 45-minute mark, guys. So if you're just joining, we're just about to go, but thank you so much for joining. I appreciate the time that you guys spend here with me on a Sunday. See you next week Sunday at 3 o'clock. Job hunting in Atlantic Canada live. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Bring people on. RSVP. The RSVP link is not there yet, okay? So don't look for it right now. Today, Sunday. It'll be up tomorrow. And I'll send an email. So if you're a part of the website, again, you'll get that email and that update. I appreciate you guys. I will be here next week. And yeah, continue to send in your questions on email and whatever. And I'll see you soon. Thank you. Remember to subscribe and hit the like button. Bye.